Hey YouTube, this is Magician34. I have brought you my City Championships Top 4 Genesect deck. Let's go ahead and get into it. Let's not waste any time. We were running 3 Genesect EX. We were running 2 Virizion EX. And I know it's kind of a lighter number, but you really don't need more than that many Genesects and that many Virizions, especially because Virizion's not so great in the late game. Speaking of which, we have Shaman EX. He's not quite as good as Virizion early game, but late game he's considerably better because of his Revenge Blast. And you can take games that way pretty easily. Now here's this one of the unusual tech cards, Virizion EX, but we are using Virbank City Gym and lasers and Poison Powder 2-hit KOs things with Virbank out because it's 60 and then the 30 damage between turns for 90, so that's 180. And you'd be amazed how well Jungle Hammer goes. It's just one more energy than you would need for the Poison Powder anyway. So it's not an unreasonable amount when you've got when you've got Virizion around pumping things up anyway. And the 30 healing does matter because it turns a lot of 2-hit KOs into 3-hit KOs for Venusaur. So he's pretty useful. He's the only 180 HP Pokemon we have as well. We're running 1 copy of Tropius, and just like on Shaman EX, the fighting resistance is pretty important. Return is a great way to restock your hand if you're in dire straits, and Energy Press is not a bad attack, and he does all this very economically, energy-wise, too. So, deceptively important member of the team. And our last Pokemon is Dedenne. He can kind of scare out Yveltal EXs and potentially revenge them. But of course, Entrainment is a great early game attack to set you up, get your Virizion, get your Genesect. And that's only 9 Pokemon, but that's all we need, and they are all basic, keep in mind. Alright, we have 14 supporters. First of all, we've got the obligatory 4 Professor Juniper. They can also be Sycamores, but let's face it, she has a full art, and she also just looks better, and she's cooler. Sorry if you disagree. You're entitled to your opinion, of course, even if it's wrong. We run 3 Ns. Arguably, you could go more, but 3 N is enough because you tend to take early prizes and whatnot, so that's fine. We're running 3 Skyless to make sure we hit, because there's a lot hit various things, because there are a lot of very specific items we want to make sure we hit, so Skyless is very good for that, obviously. Then we run 1 Colress, because we're not always going to be packing up our bench really early, but it's good versus Seeker target. And it's good against opponents like Donphan who like to fill their bench up. We have 1 Shadow Triad, pretty much just for bringing back the Plasma Energies, of course. 1 Lysander. Even though we do have the red signal, it's nice to be able to Lysander. It's just one more way to control our opponent's back row, which is part of how this deck operates. It's a control kind of thing. And last but not least, we have a Pokemon Center Lady. Once again, a lot like Venusaur, she turns 2-hit KOs into 3-hit KOs. So in a way, you play this and you basically take an extra turn, which is amazing. And it can also prevent you from having to switch out to Cure Status and whatnot. And mainly, you just discard her early. And you don't really care. You can pitch her to an Ultra Ball or a Juniper. And then you can versus Seeker her late game to give yourself some really cool options. Item-wise, we actually have 24 items. Strangely, Donphan's not a bad matchup for us, despite that. We run 1 G-Booster, our A-Spec, our obligatory card, so it lets you just power through everything with Genesect. We have 2 Virbanks, because we don't absolutely have to have it, and you kind of hold it until you plan to take advantage of it, so just the 2 Virbanks is enough. And we're running 4 lasers just outright, because people tend to switch out anyway, even if the Virbank's not out. The laser's just extra damage. In a lot of ways, it functions like a plus power. We do have 1 Startling Megaphone just to get around annoyances and things like that, but really, Garbodor's not that bad for us, really, and we can easily pull him up to the front row and knock him out with a Megalo or something, so just one Startling Megaphone is enough. We have 3 Ultra Balls to make sure we get the right poke at the right time. And it's just powering through your deck, that's all it is. With 9 Pokemon, it's nice to be able to go get that 1 Virizion. That's probably the only one you'll need all game anyway. We have 3 Enhanced Hammer. This is a very useful card. Whether you're taking off double colorless energies, strong energies, etc. The meta's full of special energies, so this card is very good at slowing opponents down in a lot of ways. Not unlike Pokemon Center Lady, playing this a lot of times just gets you a free turn. Essentially, because you put them back 1 energy play, 1 turn and whatnot. So, pretty useful card. We also have 3 Muscle Bands. In a lot of ways, these actually just block the Flare Gears. You're not seeing too much of those, but they're good to drop out early, just to block those or to force the Megaphone from your opponent early. It's just a good card for extra damage, too. There's just nothing not to like about it. And this deck's all about putting in damage, forcing switches, keeping pressure up. We're running 3 Switch, It's really just that important, and it prevents us from having to pay retreats, even though our retreats are relatively cheap in this deck. Still, energy economy is something we need to be mindful of in this deck. We are running 2 Versus Seeker, just our late game wonder. We don't like discarding it early, but if you got to do it, you got to do it. This just really helps us maintain our momentum late game and do what needs to be done. We have 1 energy switch. This can be very useful for getting Genesect up and going late game. So quite useful for making those clutch plays. That's part of the reason why we run 3 Skylas. And we do run 1 Professor's Letter. It's another good Skyla target, obviously. Just make sure we have those grass energies when we need them so we can maintain our tempo. And last but not least, our energy. We're running 13. We have 4 Plasma Energies, and this is basically just a Pokemon catcher that always works with Genesect, obviously. We don't really care if it gets hammered off next turn, because its job is not to power our attacks, really, so much as it is just to control our opponent's Pokemon. So mainly our actual energy in the deck is just these lovely 9 grass energies, and that's all she wrote. That's all we need, is these grass energies. And so there you go. That is the deck. That is our top 4 positioning Genesect EX deck from Cities. It's quite good. It runs a little bit of interesting tech, but it plays really well. The only thing we had trouble with, we ended up losing in top 4 to a mono dark deck, and it was pretty good, and he was a really good player. He ended up winning the whole thing, so I can't feel too bad about it. And it was a pretty good back and forth game. He tried to slow play me a little bit, so I got aggressive, took some prizes, and then let him kind of panic under his own stress. And so it was close. It could have gone either way, but in the end, he ended up taking it. It was real solid. Like I say, it was a good match. So anyway, until next time, like, comment, subscribe, and check out my channel for more cool Pokemon content.